So I had my first internship about a year ago for a month here in Poland, and I made sure to document every single step that I went through for the most part. I might have missed some stuff, as you can see here, and you can pause it if you want to see the specifics, you want to read it yourself. I would recommend it just so you can see what I experienced. But in this video, I'll also just be talking about it, commenting on one or two things. Welcome, my name is Mohammed Alaugan, and I'm a second year in Wrocław Medical University. I decided to dedicate this video to talking about the observations I had and the experiences I had at Uniwersytecki Szpital w Wrocławiu. I decided to divide my experiences into three groups: what I observed, what I helped with, and what I actually did like myself completely. There's a mix of different things, of course, but this is just like the general groups. I'll give some comments, but it's basically a long list. What I observed: I watched random abdominal surgeries and stitching. That was my first day. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just came, met my nurse, met my doctor, and it was kind of late, so we just went to a surgery room, and I just watched some surgery with two of my colleagues that were meant to be with me. I watched Crohn's disease surgery and stitching up. This was another day where I actually knew the disease and I was able to talk to the doctor before. And she's talking to us about the procedure that she's gonna do and what disease it is. Even though it's not part of my actual main focus of my internship, it was still good. I still got to like see it and stuff like that. And I saw some anatomical stuff that I'm used to, that I actually learned, and I saw it in person, and it's different. Like when I see people, I see them a little bit different now once I've seen that Crohn's and abdominal surgery. I watched the nurse taking a blood sample test or different types of test tubes. I watched PFP or frozen plasma transfusion to central vein. I saw them hooking it up, and then watched the minor surgery for sebaceous cyst on the back. That was just a little surgery. The procedure was interesting. It was the same as removing let's say neoplasia from the back. I also watched, like I said, like I wrote here, watched minor possible cancer. We call it neoplasia because we're not sure and we don't want to give the patient a scare, and we're also not sure if it's cancer. We can't just call it that. Surgery and stitching, they stitch it up after. I watched 2 colonoscopies and 1 endoscopy of the esophagus. What I helped with: I had a full day with Nurse Alicia. That was the main nurse I was with most of the day. She speaks English, which helped a lot. Medicine mixing and IV setup and removal. I was inside the nurse room where she was mixing stuff. Viewed and did catheter IV insertions, where I actually was, the first couple of days I was learning, I was seeing what it's like, and then I did it myself for once. It's actually not too hard. It's just finding the vein is annoying, and also being gentle because you don't want to ruin anything, make anything worse. I transported an English-speaking patient from the wheelchair. I wrote English speaking just because it's one of the more rare things that happens when patients speak English or more fluently. Most patients can say 1 or 2 things in English, but this patient was like, it was just a nice experience. Assisted patients to get up on the side of their bed and walk. This was when I was with a physiotherapist, and I helped the patients exercise and stretch, walk up and down the hall. These are usually older patients or patients that had an intense surgery where they've been in bed for a while and they've lost a little bit of muscle mass and a bit of tired. But I'm not an expert. I can't really fully say the reasons, but that's what I saw, that's what I understood, that's what I was told. I transported a patient for an endoscopy. I watched the patient, transported the patient for an ultrasound, transported the patient to the x-ray room, transferred materials from a storage room, transferred a patient from the observation room to regular room, and provided patients with nutrients and food. A lot of these transporting, there's a certain person, and also like the organizational stuff. There's a person who wears this lab coat. He's like the head nurse, I believe, and he moves patients around. He knows, he's interconnected with all the nurses. He knows what things are going on. He knows which patients are having what done, things like that. He's a senior nurse. He was a nice guy. Full day with Nurse Joanna, removing and adding bandages from patient stitches, skin cells for band-aid, remove, tiny step, spray, wipe with gauze, and place new bandages. It's a nice procedure. Take patient's blood with Nurse Joanna, tourniquet needle, needle holder, gauze, blood test containers. That's how you take the actual blood test. That's when I was helping with it, and I actually did it myself. Checked patient's basic health with stethoscope of heart and lungs, and clamp ECG on appendicular limbs. So yeah, I actually did the basically checking vitals, basically with the EKG setup. And it's not just knowing what it actually means after second year. I learned physiology properly, even though I know a little bit first year, but yeah, I definitely learned more. What I did myself: So these are things that I actually did myself. Like after I learned a couple of things, this is near the end, or the nurse actually trusted me, like Nurse Joanna mainly would let me do stuff. Since she had good communication and she actually taught us well. I did say Nurse Alicia helped a lot too, but Nurse Joanna was one that helped us do more. So shout out Nurse Joanna, shout out Nurse Alicia. Thank you. That was a good first experience. Okay, what I did myself, I stocked a room with IV fluid, which is pretty simple. Dropped off blood and visited the blood bank. Restocked IV fluid and paracetamol. Attached the IV to catheters and administered to central vein, which was a bigger thing. Central vein goes right here if you don't know. That's what they call this. And then the IV usually goes here. I don't know I'm saying this at the end, but yeah, the IV goes here. So I was like, just imagining it now that I'm saying what I did. It's just more like I'm in the motions, yeah. And took blood from the central vein and patients and arms of patients for 2 different tests, blood tests each. It might seem like a lot, but during the whole thing, it also felt like a lot. Like in the moment, it's like a lot of pressure, but you just have to relax. And overall, it just ends pretty fast. It ends and you're like, wait, what? I do feel a bit more confident than I did since my second internship is starting now, but I haven't done some stuff during the whole year basically, right? But I still feel more confident than I did in coming into the first internship. And there are definitely things that I forgot because I just haven't been practicing it. But that's all from me. Like, it's free. Subscribe or else. Like, no, like actually subscribe. Like, what are you doing, bro? Bro, he's not subscribed. Like, anyway, comment what you liked, hated, want to see more of. If you have any questions or just show love, or don't. You probably didn't have anything interesting to say anyway, let's be honest. I'm joking. Follow me on other platforms. And if you want to know how I actually got my first internship, watch my other video called A Simple Guide to Your First Internship in Poland. That's how I actually got into the steps. That's how most people in my year actually did. That's how most people do it generally. Yeah, so check that out if you want. Also, share this video with anybody who you might think is doing their first internship and they want to learn or just want to observe what someone who did it before them did and just see what they might expect to learn or see or do. Because, you know, sometimes you just want to have a little bit of insight if you have nothing to base your expectations off. All right, see you.